2022 and maybe into 2023, we're going to be paying more for things. What really rose in this last report was rent, food, and gas. Pretty important things for most people.
Yeah, I think in California, what are they paying? $5 a gallon, $6 a gallon?
Yeah, and that really you have to look at that as a tax on people, and the real impact is on people that are not very wealthy.
Al, so let's talk about a few different things here. I know we have some stocks that you want to get into here today, but here's the first segment. Let's recap on what's going on in this wild market.
Yeah, well, the inflation issue is huge, and we've been waiting for a while here to see if the numbers would go up, which they certainly did. The forecast was for a 0.4% increase, and actually was a 0.6% increase.
Yeah.
And that was much higher than expected, obviously. So now the question is, when the Fed meets and they raise interest rates in March, initially we figured there would be quarter point increases. Now, the Fed may have to raise a half a point and maybe raise more than some people thought.
Well,
So,
just real quick, how could that impact the markets or the economy?
well, for one thing, the stocks that have really driven this market basically since 2009 have been the growth stocks, the technology stocks. Technology stocks and growth stocks are not going to do as well in a high inflationary period. A lot of those companies rely on debt to grow the companies. They're still in that growth mode, which means it takes some capital to do that. So a lot of companies have to borrow money. The cost of borrowing is going to go up.
Yeah, less borrowing then.
Yeah, that's huge. So the inflation, the Fed initially tried to convince us that inflation was transitory, and that by the end
beautiful word, isn't it?
yeah, and by the end of 2022, the interest rates would go down, inflation would go down. Now it's looking more like for the full 2022 and maybe into 2023, we're going to be paying more for things. What really rose in this last report was rent, food, and gas. Pretty important things for most people.
Yeah, I think in California, what are they paying? $5 a gallon, $6 a gallon?
Yeah, and that really you have to look at that as a tax on people, and the real impact is on people that are not very wealthy, middle class, lower class people. That's a huge cost to them. If you have to drive somewhere, which most people do,
Yep.
that gas is going to impact you. And also when you think about it, oil, petroleum, gas, all of those things are used not just to fuel your car, but in almost every aspect of our life. So the inflation is going to have a huge impact on what goes on, but there's going to be kind of a tug of war now between the inflation, higher interest rates, and earnings of these companies. So people are going to expect higher earnings from companies to kind of validate their value, because a lot of companies have huge valuations right now. Now they have to prove that they're really that valuation is worthy of where they are.
And that's why it's so important to, I guess, in my opinion, to have multiple sources of cash flow for coming through, Al. So let's talk real quick for about a minute here about why, what are some assets that investors can discover to have strategies for income?
Well, that's a great point. I think income, when you really kind of break down your financial world, is comprised of two components. One is kind of that income component when you're still working, maybe you're gathering assets, and then the other is that wealth retirement portion of your life where it's kind of a distribution phase. But I think the income part of it is important for everybody, because while you're still working, having a little bit of extra income to maybe help pay bills, but also to put more into your retirement is important. When you go into retirement, you need to have something to replace the income from your job, because those pesky things that show up in your mailbox every
Is that a
every
B
day.
word?
Oh, yeah, that's
Oh, it's
right.
bills.
It's bills. That's right. They keep coming even when you're retired. Now the income that you had to pay for those bills while you were still working is gone. So that's why it's so important to understand and learn the strategies and assets to generate income.
Yeah, that's the key, is to have those strategies that are designed to do that. And some of those different assets that we talk about, we obviously get into stocks. Everybody knows that. Well, there's things that people are missing out on. Great opportunities with futures and Forex and options. We're going to continue to discuss a little bit of some of those things here today. But I mean, you got to combat these different things. Inflation, as you said, rent is going up. I was actually speaking with a friend not long ago, and their rent went up. I think they said 300 bucks.
Well,
Was
it's
it 300
significant.
bucks?
Yeah, rent
Which
is
is
huge.
a
The
big
growth.
jump.
Yeah.
So you have to have strategies that are designed to I guess hedge that,
Mhm.
right?